So Amanda Griffith is a good friend. Shout out to my brother for introducing us.
Yay, Gabe! Thank you.
I know, over like Twitter like 5 years ago, like so random.
Yes.
So we are both in life science. We are both mental health advocates, and both from the Boston area. So she is today. We are going to talk about her role with a very beautiful rare disease advocacy and research organization, Moonshots for Unicorns. Because today is Rare Disease Day, and we really wanted to illuminate how someone like Amanda can work with a marketing team, other communications people in her role as head of media relations with this rare disease company. So we thought it was a great day to celebrate the company and the work she does. And of course, you can talk about the other things we
Yeah, of
do,
course.
but I find that a lot of times when we have these kind of specifics, people really lean into them. So without further ado, tell us who you are, what you do, and all the things, and then be sure to explain what the stripes means because we may have some people that
Sure.
don't
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name's Amanda Griffith. I have been doing media relations for, oh my goodness, I think like 30 years. Um, it's kind of scary and exciting at the same time. Definitely come up through various kind of phases of communications. Back in the day when I started, we were faxing pitches to reporters, and we had this, big, heavy green bacon book that you used to find the right people to contact, and you had to put big binders of things together. And
know. Oh my
now
gosh.
everything's I mean, it was nuts. And now it's, you've got social media, and you've got, the emails, and it's just the evolution of things is just extraordinary. I mean, 30 years ago when I started, I never would have expected that we'd be doing a LinkedIn Live. I mean, I don't think I even knew I don't even remember when LinkedIn started, but it definitely was not
21
what.
years ago.
Oh, God,
Yeah.
seriously. So it's legal. It's of legal age now.
Yes. Yeah. Welcome to the
Yes.
legal world.
So yeah, so I also am a patient. I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis when I was 12. I have had anxiety and depression. Lauren, you and I have talked a lot about being mental health advocates and being in this space. And I very fortunate. I have three children, but I also suffered from secondary infertility in between my second and third. So there were a lot of chronic diseases. And so I've always just built both my life and my professional world around people, around
Mhm.
storytelling, around building relationships. I mean, to your point, you pointed out that we met through your brother Gabe, and he and I started pitching him, stories with clients, and then we just became friends. And it's something that I really enjoy, and it's those connections, it's that experience. Um, just being available and being open, and kind of what you put out is what you attract. And I got interested and involved with Moonshots for Unicorns, which is this amazing organization that is trying to fund cures or even treatments for single gene diseases, rare diseases. And what's interesting is the father, one of the co-founders, Dr. Zach Landman, was a client of mine years
Oh,
and years and years ago. He was the medical director of a startup that I was helping. And I think we probably worked together maybe 15 years ago. And he reached out to me a couple years ago and said, I don't know if you'll remember me. It was like, of course I remember you. And he said, we have three daughters. Our youngest has a rare genetic disease called PGAP3, and it is so rare that there are, less than 50 cases, and we happen to get the diagnosis early. So we're kind of flying blind because no one
yeah.
else has been diagnosed at this stage. And the challenge is, even before kind of the current administration and the changes with NIH and that type of thing, it's interesting because there are so many rare diseases, even if the individual rare diseases only have even a couple of people. So it's a huge community. But the challenge is if you have a rare disease that does not impact a lot of people, the FDA doesn't want to touch it. They don't want to do
Yeah.
clinical trials. It's not worth it. I mean, part of the reason I do what I do and I'm good at what I do is I care about the people. I see the faces. I know that people have to make money, but we can't lose sight of why we're doing this and the people who are there. And I'm so glad that you had me on today because especially, Rare Disease Day, we say that, the people say, oh, it's a unicorn. We say, look for the zebra. Um, because there are so many rare diseases, but it's still something that's unique and we want to stand out, we want to help. And this year is even more important because typically Rare Disease Day is celebrated the last day of February. I think the first year it was on February 29th, a leap year, so that it was, particularly
Rare.
unique.
Yep.
Typically rare, exactly. And
Yeah.
the challenge is that this year, Rare Disease Day got canceled, or as the website said, postponed. And I saw late yesterday, there is a group of patients who, were already in DC and are putting kind of a
Yep.
patient thing together. But the
That's great.
challenge is that, it's a huge blow to, the little girl in question. Her name is Lucy. And, if the rare disease had to happen to her, it was almost like the best of circumstances because Jerry Landman, her mom, is also a doctor. She's a pediatrician.
Wow.
And Zach does pain management. And so, as soon as they found out, they were able to do all this research and get all this stuff done and understand. And what's been really powerful and why I'm really excited to be not only, head of media relations, but also on the board is that, you know, thanks to our supporters and being able to raise awareness, we were able to on our own quality science research. And we were able to actually develop a gene replacement therapy. And it showed incredible promise in patient cells and mouse models. And the challenge is, we submitted this huge application for a large NIH grant so that we could get the rest of the money that we needed to put it into a clinical trial for humans because we need $2 million. And we haven't heard anything, like no yes, no no no. And with Rare Disease Day being canceled, it's really hard because you feel like people are just giving up on you. And we can't wait, we can't hope that in 4 years or whatever that there will be the funding, because kids like Lucy don't have that time. And it's really hard because it's hard to be hopeful about
Yeah.
the government
Exactly.
funding because and we can't really sit around. So our challenge is, if we can't get these grants anymore, we need to do more grassroots work. And that's why I'm sort of so passionate about speaking up. So,
So tell us about your role with Moonshots for Unicorns. Tell us what does it mean to be the, head of media relations, and I think diving into how you are approaching this challenging time in our country's history would be helpful for people that also might not have someone like you at the helm of their organization, or two doctors that are
right.
have the child. There are 7,000 known rare diseases, so you can imagine that yeah, most of them probably don't have the incredible resources.
Yeah.
So
And
tell
so
us a
many
little bit about what you do and how you're approaching this challenging, we'll put it mildly, time
challenging, yes.
challenging time in our country's history.
Yeah. So, what I have done and what we've done as a group, our board of directors is amazing. And we come from all different backgrounds. We have lawyers, event people, doctors. And, our goal is really just to put a face to these diseases. And so a lot of what I do is just trying to introduce reporters to Lucy. They're in California, so we were able to get a feature in the San Francisco Business Journal. We've talked to different organizations and, tried to spread awareness. We've tried to do different fundraisers. Last year we did a hot shot challenge, sort of playing off of Moonshots for unicorns, like taking a shot of hot sauce for the
That's
cure. And, we're able to raise money that way. And, for me, my job is to just connect with as many people as possible. And, the challenge truly is that there are so many rare diseases that it's hard it's hard to get people to understand that, you know, rare disease isn't rare, but it's something that has to be talked about because there are so many individual things. And, the science is amazing because we're able to diagnose sooner. We're able to find treatment sooner. We have the capabilities now that we can test these genes. Jerry and Zach didn't know that they each carried a bad copy of the PGAP3 gene. And it's a lot about just educating people,
yeah,
about doing their research, about understanding, about trusting their trusting their gut. And part of my outreach too is because I form relationships with reporters is just trying to relate to them. We're all
yeah,
patients. And
yeah,
that's what I would say. If you don't have experience or you don't have a media relations person, it's very easy. I learned very early on in my career that it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to sort of almost have this awe of people that can do something, can make a difference. But when it comes down to it, every day you're talking to somebody who's a patient, who's,
yeah,
you know, a friend, a daughter, a son, what have you. And it's really important to just make that personal connection and say,
exactly.
hey, I know that you're really busy. I mean, especially now, my job is a lot more challenging because I have so many reporters who are covering the rapidly changing situations and executive orders in DC. So they don't always have the time to tell these stories. And so I try to share it, on social media, on LinkedIn, Facebook. It's all just about connecting to people. And, for me, I give updates to reporters. I've talked to
Excellent.
Endpoints News before, and they've said, oh, yes, they've had conversations. And it's hard because it's definitely something where you have to play the long game. You continue to
Yes.
have these conversations, you continue to follow up because you never know when somebody's like, hey, yeah, this would be a good conversation to have. And, honestly, the rest of the time, it's just providing support and knowing when to step back. I love trying to share Lucy's story, get coverage, but there are also times too where I have to remember, they're a busy family. They've got two practicing doctors and they have two other daughters. And there are times where it's like, you know what, we're going to pause media relations for right now so that we can enjoy Lucy with where
Yeah.
she is. Because there's so much that we need to learn about the disease. And it's like, you're building the plane as you're flying. We
Yeah.
don't necessarily know what Lucy will do well with. They've tried different supplements. They've tried the keto diet. It's just trying to plan. It's just doing what I can to just support the family and say, okay, I'm here. I will do, when you want to do media relations, when you have an update, let me know. I mean, we were so excited last year when we were able to get this, kind of cure. And now it's frustrating because we're in a holding pattern,
Yeah.
and it's my advice would be it's a lesson in patience, and it's really easy to get frustrated, but at the end of the day, it's it's worth it if you can get even one person to understand. and maybe open their eyes to what's going on. And I've met so many amazing people through it. And it's like the rare disease community is a really special community. They all come together,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
support each other, they try to, share resources when they're able. It's so refreshing because it's just such an open community that people want to share. It's not like, okay, well, I have this, I'm not going to, tell you even though it could benefit you. It's not a competition.
yeah,
It's like, hey, let's band together because this is important. And, Rare Disease Day is a worldwide thing. So, even if it's kind of stalled in the US this year, it's, other
yeah.
countries are trying to do what they can to make a
And the cool
difference.
thing is that, this is actually probably, kind of divine timing, because
Yeah.
the cool thing is, even if we don't have the official day, there are still so many resources
Yes.
to get the word out. And that is probably where the collaboration between PR and marketing comes in so well.
Yes.
If this situation had happened probably 30 years ago when we were still faxing and whatnot,
Yeah.
um, yeah, Rare Disease Day, probably would have been a lot more dire consequences. But
Yeah.
in our time in the world now, where there are so many digital strategies,
Mhm.
um, I think we're actually, it's definitely a step back and an obstacle, but it doesn't stop the community from continuing their work. And that is probably what's so cool about collaborations, is that
Yes.
PR and marketing aren't in these silos anymore.
Yeah.
And so I'm just thinking of that example of the hot shots for Moonshots.
Yes.
Full disclosure, guys, I did not do the hot shot. I just donated. I did,
And
yeah,
I
no.
found the most mild hot sauce that I could find because I don't
Okay.
like hot things.
Yeah, yeah. There's just like I'm a sensitive flower. So, anyways,
I
tell us.
appreciated the support.
I know. And in case anyone didn't see, for however many shares we get of this event, I will donate personally $1. So and that goes on because this lives on our LinkedIn in perpetuity. So please keep sharing. And but tell us, yeah, walk us through that kind of hot shots for moonshots process. Like, that's really cool. And it kind of riffs off of the ice bucket challenge, over 10 years ago. Tell
Yeah.
us how that to me feels like a PR marketing, like, match made in heaven. So tell us a little bit about how
Yeah.
that came up and how you used that for both kind of awareness and visibility and, branding kind of.
Well, it's funny that you said that because we really were thinking about the ice bucket challenge and kind of, okay, what can we do? We know that we have to do this grassroots, and we've also done um you know, donate $2 for on Lucy's second birthday. Like, just we've been trying to play with
Yeah.
the numbers. Like, even today, Moonshots for Unicorns, we sent out an email, kind of talking about how the rare disease day celebrations had been canceled, and our request was, donate $2.28 today for
Yep.
228 Rare Disease Day. But we were just trying to find creative ways to engage people, to maybe go viral. We encouraged people to, sort of like the ice bucket challenge, record themselves doing the shot and then nominating somebody else. And we figured, even if we didn't raise as much money as we wanted, we would still raise awareness. And, it's even like the community. I had a reporter friend of mine who loves hot sauce. And he was like, I'll do the challenge because I love hot sauce. And,
Was it my
a lot
brother?
of,
He loves hot sauce.
I don't know if Gabe did it. It was Eric Wickland. I'll have to double check. I can't remember if he
Does
did it
love
or
hot
not.
sauce.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe he did. Yeah. I mean, but I reached out. I mean, that's the thing. I love working with reporters, and I view them as, I check in with them to say, hi and tell them what I'm working on. And, you know, it's a powerful, you know, your voice is a powerful thing. And so I had people who were like, this is a passion of yours. Yeah, we'll help. And, you know,
I love
people
that.
want to help. I mean, 70% of rare diseases start in childhood. And, y- you know, I mean, I feel like anybody with half a heart sees a child who's sick and wants to help. I mean, and everybody who hears Lucy's story is touched by it. You know, there's a doctor, Dr. Nick, who has a podcast on the Healthcare Now network, and I've known him for years and years and years. And he interviewed the Landmans about Lucy's story, and he was so touched by it that he was like, I was literally tearing up listening to their story.
Um,
And he made a donation to
that's
Moonshots for
awesome.
Unicorns after he talked to them. And, you know, talking about sort of the marketing and PR coming together, we have one of the amazing board members that we have, Jillian, does these incredible graphics. So she put
Oh,
together
cool.
like different social media things for
Oh
us.
my gosh.
And then we actually did another kind of raffle, and we were giving away Taylor Swift tickets
Oh, I
last
donated to that.
fall. Yes. And, you know, she created these
Excellent.
amazing, like, you know, graphics and things that were sized for different types of media. And, you know, there's been various advertising trying to be unconventional too, whether it's the Hot Shot Challenge or trying to raffle off T Swift tickets, or a lot of times they'll even go to farmers markets. It's
Oh,
kind of, you know, there's so much noise that we're trying to find ways to do integrated marketing, but it's hard. You know, like we've talked before about having some sort of rare disease gala and, you know, raising money. But it's like, you know, even with us board members, I'm in Boston, one of them's in Houston, one of them's in Florida, you know, Jerry and a couple other people are in like San Francisco area and LA. So it's like, how do you bring all those people together?
yeah, which
And
is actually one of our topics that I wrote about on in the description is, yeah,
yes.
how do you harness those kind of multifaceted internal, external stakeholders to really maximize impact? In the example of your board member with the graphics
Yeah.
background,
Yeah.
that's an awesome example. But yeah, how do you? Because I can imagine that when it is a rare disease and there's only 50 people, you're not all in Boston, you know. I mean,
No.
that's the reality is that
Yeah.
some of these people are across the world,
Yeah.
um, and finding them is even more of a challenge. So, how do
Yeah.
you harness these kind of diverse external and internal stakeholders to maximize
It's,
impact?
you know, honestly, it's a lot of reading. It's a lot of resourcing. You know, Jerry has and Zach have gotten very involved in different rare disease communities. And, you know, like I was telling you about the collaboration, it's a lot of times it's like if you see another rare disease nonprofit or organization that's had a successful fundraiser, it's reaching out to them and saying, hey, what did you do? What are your
Yeah,
suggestions? You know, did you use give butter? Did you, you know, do you know, Facebook donation thing? And it's a lot of trial and error, and it's definitely not for the faint of heart,
yeah,
because you know, it's very easy to get frustrated. And it's similarly to how Jerry and Zach feel when Lucy's accomplished something, and you know, she now goes to a preschool, and she has, you know, different services, and they've got um, you know, respite care, and it's just it's opening your eyes, and just it's really, it's hard to not be passionate and excited when you see this family who's like, yeah, we gave ourselves a weekend to be upset, and then we're like, that does nothing, what can we do? And, you know, having two other children, I mean, they are more active than I am. I'm like, oh my god, how are you guys doing all these things? You go on these trips and you do this. Like, they do everything, they do things as a family of five. And then there are times where, you know, Lucy stays with the nanny, and you know, the big girls can do something. And it's really just sharing about family and
yeah.
asking, and just you know, we're trying to just like, you know, give Lucy the gift of speech, being able
Mhm.
to walk, have a life without seizures. And so it's like every single step, no matter how small, makes a real difference. And we just keep keeping our eyes out and trying to be creative and being open to feedback. I mean, we love when people are like, "Hey, have you tried this?" Or, "What if we donate, what if we donate this?" And,
I love
like I was
that.
saying in the beginning, yeah, I mean, it's hard because 1 out of every 10 Americans is living with a rare disease. There are more than 300 million people who have rare diseases. But, part of the problem is that these families feel isolated. They feel
Yeah,
alone, they feel frustrated, and, when you don't have answers, I mean, you and I both know, like, when you're a patient and you don't have answers and you don't know what to do with your medical questions, it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, it's now that we have all this social media, it's
yeah,
using your
there is
voice. It's
power.
not being afraid. There's power in numbers, there's power in speaking, and it's not being afraid to have people say, "Well, that's a really good story, but I can't do anything with it right now." Or, it's
Yeah.
there are times where I wanna shout from the rooftops and be like, "You need to tell her story, like, look at this kid, like, if we can raise this money, then she can get help." And, there was a GoFundMe a couple of weeks ago for a little girl with a different illness, and they needed to raise, I think, like, $120,000 so that they could be able to give her this, drug that had been made specially for her. And the rare disease community came together and they were able to raise all the money so
That's
that she
awesome.
could get the treatment that she needed. And, that's the exciting thing. Like, if we can figure out a way to integrate the marketing and the PR and community outreach, I mean, imagine what we can accomplish. It doesn't have to be through the government. Grants would be amazing, but there's really power in numbers and the patient voices. And the more we can amplify that and put the patient at the core, it makes a huge difference.
Okay, mic drop. Um,
Sorry, I can't do
no,
short answers. You know that, Lauren.
no, honestly, that is like such a beautiful way to end this because if you guys don't know, or I'm sure you do by now, after we're done here, the LPC team takes this, puts it on YouTube, and we put together little snippets. So you'll see yourself throughout our social media over the year. And the snippets are really what you just said, those kind of impactful statements that we want to showcase on our socials. So that is absolutely going to be going forward on our socials because that really does capture exactly what we wanted to talk about today is that the power is truly in those collaborative outreaches, those the PR, the marketing, the community outreach, but at the crux of all of those things, good old fashioned storytelling and relationship
Mhm.
building. That is truly the common thread between all communications and marketing is the storytelling and the community behind it. And I think what we learned here today is that the community of rare disease advocates is strong. It may
Mhm.
be spread across the globe. It may be, different than other more traditional disease organizations, but it is powerful because of that rarity. The rarity is what makes it challenging, but it's
Mhm.
also what makes it powerful.
And things don't have to be done in a silo. I mean, I've honestly learned
Yeah.
so much just from, you and your experiences as a mental health advocate and the different avenues that you use between blog posts and newsletters, doing LinkedIn lives like this, sharing. There's so much that I glean from you as well. So, thank you for that.
I didn't pay her to say that.
no, it's totally true. When you see
Yeah,
other people who are advocates,
that's
it
exactly it.
transfers from condition to condition, whether it's mental health or physical health. It's like, don't be afraid to take an idea and say, hey, you know what? This worked for this mental health advocate. I'm going to try it and adapt it. I mean, we don't have to recreate the wheel, and we're more effective when we collaborate and share ideas across different methods. And the more we could have conversations like this, whether it's on LinkedIn Live or when we have our lunches, which we need to schedule a new one, just saying,
Absolutely.
it's just really it's really encouraging that people are talking and giving space to these patients because it makes them
Love
feel
that.
less alone, and that's what it's all about.
Oh my gosh. You guys, this has been such a beautiful way to celebrate Rare Disease Day. Despite everything that's going on, I am so glad that we could talk about it today.
Me
That
too.
even making that like tiny little impact on my corner of the internet and Amanda's. So we will definitely be donating, keep sharing this because now the way LinkedIn works is you will see this recording as part of the event. So keep sharing. And I look forward to donating to Moonshots. And please, ask any questions in the comments. This will live here.
Absolutely.
Um, and we will see you guys next month. Thank you so much, Amanda. This has been amazing.
Thank you for having
And
me, and thank you for making a
yeah.
donation. It is just above and beyond, and I really appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, it's something we love doing at LPC, so I'm happy to do it. All
Thank
right,
you.
guys, have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and we'll talk to you next month.
Sounds great. Happy Friday. Thanks, Lauren. Bye.